All right, so today we're going to talk with Val Eaglin, the founder of the Daily Wed. And so I wanted to just talk to her about her experience with having a blended family. You've been married for how many years, Val?
25, 26 this year in
Oh,
August.
wow. Praise God. So help us understand what your journey was like having a blended family for 26 years. What has it been like for you?
It's been amazing, honestly. Of course we had, you have your ups and downs. My husband and I, when we started dating at that time, my oldest son, who's now 34, was 5 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And my second son was 2.
Okay.
And so at the time that we got married, my oldest son was 8
Okay.
and the second one was 5.
Okay.
And so, we got married. And at some point in time, you go through the stages of when you come into a child's life that early,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually a better experience because
Yes.
kids are usually more pliable,
Right.
and they bounce back and all of that.
Right.
And then you get into the adolescent age and teenage stage, and
Right.
it becomes a different ball game.
Right. Right.
And so we experienced that with my son, going through the stage of "you're not my father" at age 13.
Okay.
And then it kind of mellowed off. And
Okay.
now, even as an adult, he's actually changed his name on Facebook to reflect my married last name.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So the dynamics is, I made the, story a little quick, but it's been a good journey. You have your good days, you have your bad days, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, I think, in a situation where you allow the parent who's coming in to have the same amount of what's the word? Authority.
Authority, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And when you allow the parent who's the bonus parent to have the same amount of authority, and just as any couple should do in a relationship with children, you just make sure that you're on the same page.
Right.
Always show a united front.
Exactly.
Which is what my husband and I did, and I let my sons know, from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
that if this person is okay to feed you, this person is okay to correct you.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. It's funny you say that, Val, because that used to be my slogan too. If you're
Yeah.
okay with accepting his money, then you're
Yes.
okay with being told what to do. I totally
Absolutely.
agree with that. I totally agree with
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so,
Because I wouldn't put anybody in your life that would abuse you in any way.
right.
I wouldn't do that.
Right.
And so if you can say that you're well taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
when you want something, then it
Right.
shouldn't be any different, when you're not in agreement.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah,
so yeah.
I totally agree with you there. And so, did you find that it was easier when they were because they were younger when you all got together, or do you think it would have been better had you waited until they got a little older and been a little bit more seasoned?
Actually, I think it was a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
with them being younger, because what I say that because when they're younger, they're, like I said, they're more pliable. They're,
Mm-hmm.
You can correct them easily.
Mm-hmm.
They listen to authority a little bit better.
Right.
When you come in at the stage when they're already teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
then they kind of have that attitude. Like a lot of times,
Right.
they have that attitude as if, I already have a parent. You
Right.
know what I mean? You're not here to fix me or correct me,
Right.
because they're just getting used to, either way they have to. But I
Mm-hmm.
would say that overall my experience was that I think it was a little bit better that my husband started off with them earlier in their lives.
Right.
I think it would have been a lot more. I think it is a lot more of a strain the older they are.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, I do agree with that because I know in my husband and I situation, I came into his son's life early on. I mean, he was, when we got married, he was 8 months old. And so he has grown with me, and that I'm all he's known as, being the woman in his father's life. And so he has not had that issue of having to transition with, okay, this is a new woman that's in my father's life. I've got to adjust to her. I've got to adjust to her children. Whereas
Exactly.
my kids, when my husband came into our life, they were pretty much all teenagers except for my two younger two. And so it's funny because the two older two had the harder time adjusting versus the younger two. The younger two seem to have more of a better transition, I would say, than the older two did. And I think it does have a lot to do with age, because when you get to that teenage years, we know even in an intact situation, kids are challenging. They are,
Absolutely.
you know, their hormones are changing. They're, you know, coming into who they are. And then on top of that, you're dealing with, now you're bringing somebody in who wants to tell me what to do. You know, that can be very stressful on the relationship. It can be stressful on the family with adjusting to those kind of things. So I do believe that when the children are younger, I think it's an easier transition when it comes to that. There are other challenges that they may have, but I think dealing with the other parent is typically not one of them.
Absolutely.
Or as bad, I would say, especially if they have a very good step or bonus parent, you know, who's very much involved and really does care and love for them. I think that piece of it is not much of a challenge. Now, did your boys live with you? Were you the primary custodial parent, or were you the parent who they came to visit?
For my oldest son, they have different fathers.
Okay.
So for my oldest son, it was a situation where there wasn't any issue with his dad. It wasn't any issue with his dad.
Okay.
So, because he just wasn't an involved parent.
Okay.
My second son, his father was more involved. And so our relationship between the three of us, my husband and him, was decent because, we were just cordial because of the fact that we knew that we got along well because it was about my son.
Right.
So everything was about Dexter.
Right.
It didn't matter. We didn't have any issues between us because of his personality. So fortunately, with the one who actually lived, that I had to actually deal with his father, there wasn't any issue. He lived with his dad from the time, I think my son started staying with him. My second son started staying with his dad when he was less than 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
so I got him on the weekends.
Okay.
So, and then it was, I guess, in that particular situation, it was easier for me to allow his father to stay with him because I had, a situation already where I had one child whose father didn't want to be bothered. So it wasn't an issue with the back and forth thing. And then my rationale was that he can only live with one of us. If we're not together, I'm not giving him away as a parent.
Right.
I'm allowing him to live with his father.
Wow. That's interesting that I've never heard anyone say that before. That is very good that you say that, though, because, the truth is we both can be, we both are parents, and basically the truth of the matter is a child can live with either one of us. And if we are committed to that child and taking care of that child and doing what's best for that child, then either one of us are a good fit. So it's awesome that you were able to say that and recognize that and was able to make that decision, because you have a lot of people who are not able to make that decision to say, okay, this is probably a better situation for you. And I know that your father's going to do well raising you. And so I'll be the parent who is going to have the visitation on the weekends or the holidays. I remember when I was going through the divorce with my ex, and my middle daughter had asked me, because it was 4 of them, and she said, can 2 of us stay with you and 2 of us stay with our dad? And I was blown away by that thought process, and I couldn't even imagine spending one night without them. And I explained to her that, I didn't think it was the best situation for them, that I was, the better established parent to raise them. But deep down inside, even though I know I would say all the time that if he was established and able to provide for them, that I would have been completely okay with 2 of them going. The truth of the matter is, I know I really wouldn't have been okay. That would have been very difficult for me to make that decision. So it's good that you were not of that mindset of, I'm the more superior parent just because I'm the mom. Because I think sometimes as women, we think because we are the mother, we carried them for 9 months, that, we're the superior parent. And that's not the case. And like you said, when you have one father who you already see is not active, when you see another father who is, that is a blessing. Like when I look at my husband and I see how dedicated he is to my bonus son, that brings me joy, because I look at that as that's one less child child who has to grow up living with a father who is not consistent in their life. That breaks so many barriers. So that's a blessing, Val, that you were able to, make
Absolutely.
that decision. And I think if us as women, if we're able to look at it that way, we would save our children in so many ways by making that decision. Because again, we're not the more superior parent just because we carried them for 9 months. We're not the more superior parent for whatever reason it is that we have, because the relationship didn't work out or whatever it is you want to say is your reasoning. Unless you can say to me that this other parent is not a safe environment, is not going to provide for them, is not going to take care of them, is not going to nurture them, is not going to make sure that they are doing what's in the best interest, then we could have a different conversation. But if you both are equally doing what you need to do for the best interest of the child, then realistically any parent is capable. Either one
Absolutely.
is capable of being a full-time parent, and the other parent is a co-parent.
Absolutely.
And so when you had your visitation on the weekends, how did your family operate? Like, how did you I know for us, when my bonus son comes home, we feel like we are cramming. Like we only have this little bit of time with him. We don't have him for a whole week, so we're cramming. We're trying to do everything we could possibly think of that we missed out on during the week, to love on him, to care for him, to nurture him, and we only have a few days to do it. So we feel really crammed to try to push all that in such a little bit of time. How did you feel as a mom having to experience that, where your son was coming to visit you on the weekends?
Well, the thing is you absolutely do feel the cram. And with me, with my son Dexter starting off living away from me at less than 2 years old.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes.
There was it wasn't like, okay, yeah, you go with your dad, because I know what it's like to have one who can't go with his dad.
Right.
That was the thing. My oldest son was the catalyst that helped me to understand the importance of allowing my second son to live with his dad.
Okay.
But at the same time, it still was not an easy transition.
Right.
But when he did come with me, again, like you said, you have that cram time that you feel, you spend all day, because we lived, about maybe a 40-minute drive from where he lives in Maryland. We're in Virginia.
Okay.
And so you feel like you have half of the time to even get him to you on the road.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Right.
So sometimes you're in traffic. You don't
Right.
end up getting back home till late. And it's like half of that first day is gone.
Right.
Just trying to get them.
Just trying to get them to you. Right. Right.
And so it was definitely a challenge at first, but like I said, the personalities that were involved, thank God, it was a blessing that his father and I and my husband, we all worked, and it was all a matter of, everything was about Dexter. And we even had, his father and I had set it up to make things easier, that we didn't even have to transfer anything. I had my own set of clothes for him in my house. We didn't have to worry about the drama of, oh, you left my Nikes that I bought him. What happened to the outfit that I
exactly
bought?
Right.
What I mean?
Right.
It's like, you get your own set of stuff for him where you at, and I got mine where I'm at, and then there's no worry the pettiness of he just happened to leave in the outfit that you bought him. Right. So you worried about getting it back. That's a write-off. Don't worry about that.
Exactly.
Those clothes can go either way.
Right.
The biggest point that we wanted to make in our particular situation was, we wanted to, first of all, is for Dexter to know that it is all about him. Right. Not our attitude, not our issues with each other, not creating stuff that's not a problem. Right. Like, unfortunately, a lot of women do when they're scorned because they're no longer in this relationship. It was, a mutual split between his father and I. And we didn't have, we didn't hold any grudges. It was literally about our son. Right. And that's really the most important thing. It's about that child. Right. You don't want them to see the frustration and the arguments and the pettiness for nothing. Exactly. You want them to make their life as comfortable as possible. And then in my particular situation, I also felt that because of the fact that my son is in a situation where both of his parents are not together. Right. And he doesn't get to experience having his mom and his dad together. Right. At least what we can do is come together as much as possible on his behalf. Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. For his good. Right.
Right.
whenever he is with either one of us or in the presence of both of us at the same time. When he started playing football,
Right.
my husband and I came up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would try to be there as much as possible. You know, I ran into a couple of issues where we had a little strain. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was late getting there before and had to pay a fee at the daycare because
Mm-hmm.
I was late, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, he was a little irritated by that.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't become a habit. It just
Mm-hmm.
happened to be the issue with me being so far away.
Right.
And because I'm not a late person, this didn't create an issue. It's
right.
just something that happened. You
right.
know what I mean? So, you know, just life. You have
right.
the issues of things that come in that might surprise you that you're not expecting. But like I said, I think the biggest thing is to make sure that you understand the importance of it being about that child. It's
right.
not about you as an adult and your little pettiness or the little small issues that really, you make big things that aren't really that big of an issue.
Right.
You know,
right.
At the end of the day, what does it benefit anybody to hold on to something, you know, that is of no importance.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
and it doesn't benefit the family. It doesn't benefit, you know, it didn't benefit Dexter, you know, and I'm sure that you could see your situation and compare it to even maybe your situation with your other son or even other families and see how, because you guys were willing to work together, how different probably Dexter's upbringing and thought process was about life and how he even felt about himself. Absolutely. Was probably very different because I do know children who don't feel loved or accepted by their other parent, they feel rejected, they feel abandoned, and that stuff they start to internalize if they're not speaking or talking about it, and it starts to show in their behavior, it starts to show in their schoolwork, it starts to show in, you know, how they're communicating with you, their friendships, and all sorts of choices that they're making in life. And so when all the parents are willing to work together for the best interest of the child, it's not even just about the now. It's about what you're planning for the future, what you were instilling in them for the future. I always say that, you know, we are our children's roadmap for how relationships are established, what marriages look like, you know, all of those sorts of things, even their relationships with their siblings, you know. So I think that's awesome that you guys were able to, you know, work through that, and everything was worked well with your relationship with Dexter's father. Val, are you there?